Mate, did we watch a thing this week?
Yeah, we did.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very, very, very special edition of We Watched a Thing.
Very special.
Why is this special, Toad?
Because we locked ourselves in a room for a day.
It is our 50th episode, and to celebrate, we are punishing ourselves. So it's currently 5 in the AM, which is, I mean, you're often up at this time anyway for, sports ball and whatnot.
Yeah, so my brain tells me at this time of day that I should be really upset at what's happening on screen. And don't really have to adjust that too far, probably.
Because what we're doing today is we're going to attempt something that I don't believe any human has ever done or should ever do.
I'm going to say it's been done.
You think this has been done?
Absolutely.
We are about to watch all 8 Fast and Furious movies in one sitting.
Oh, dear.
That's right. So we decided a little while ago that for the month of September, we would take the month off new releases because I'll likely have a new baby. So we, for some stupid reason, decided on Furious-tember.
God help us. So throughout September, we'll be drip feeding you the results of today.
That's right. So the Fast and the Furious franchise is a series of action films made by Universal Pictures, started in 2001 with Fast and the Furious, and it has had 7 sequels so far, with at least one more sequel and a spin-off. Have you heard about this spin-off?
Sure have.
Idris Elba, man.
Idris, what are you doing?
Did you know that this is Universal's biggest franchise of all time? It's their biggest moneymaker. Isn't that crazy?
If I was asked that question in trivia, I'd have got it right.
And not only that, it's the 6th highest grossing film series of all time.
It's hard to believe that this is doing better than their Dark Universe.
So the series was created by Gary Scott Thompson and David Ayer.
David Ayer.
Good friend of the show.
Of Suicide Squad fame.
The cast has varied across the board, but some of the mainstays have been Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Statham, many, many more. All right, so we're ready to kick this off?
Let's do it.
How many of these have you seen?
Just the first one.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one and the last 2, so there's a bunch in here that are going to be...
The only one I've seen is Point Break with cars.
Now, it is only 5 a.m. at the moment, so for now it's just, some light, healthy snacks. But we have decided that by the end of the day, the last 2 films, because we'll probably be hitting them, what do you reckon, maybe around 9 p.m.?
Yeah.
They're going to be a drinking game. So over the last few weeks...
I guarantee you I'm going to start drinking before that to get through this.
Definitely. 11 a.m., I reckon.
Hey, sun's up.
Yeah. So over the last couple of weeks, we reached out to some of our good friends that we've made over the past 50 episodes in the kind of podcasting realm, and we've gotten
our only friends, really,
and we've gotten them to send in some drinking game rules for us. So what do you reckon? Should we hear what some of these people have in stock for us?
Let's hear one. We probably won't start drinking at 5 a.m, but just to know what we're in for.
Yeah. This first rule comes to us from our good friend Hannah from the Boozy Movies podcast, which is a really fun show. Let's hear what she says.
Hey, Billy and Topher. This is Hannah, co-host of the Boozy Movies podcast, and Julia and I love to drink while we watch some films, so we had to give our 2 cents here. Your drinking rule for Fast and the Furious is... take a drink every time generic hip-hop music plays. You can also add a bonus of drinking every time Paul Walker says, bro. Happy 50th, guys. Drink responsibly, and cheers.
Well, generic hip-hop in these films and drinking responsibly, I don't think really go hand in hand, but I'm willing to do it. I'm 18, I can do what I want. All right. Thank you, Hannah. We'll get right on that.
Yeah. All right, shall we go here play?
Let's do it, bro.
Bro. Alrighty,
one down.
We're back. We made it through the first one, which is the only one that both of us collectively have seen.
Correct. I saw this one at the movies back in the day.
Wow. How old were you in 2001 when this film came out?
57. I was in my prime.
I was in my first year of high school And
Right.
so watching this movie back, it brings back so many memories of like
Being a horny teenager.
yes. And like this movie, I don't like this and like 8 Mile, I reckon sum up what high school was like in the early 2000s. Everybody thought they were a rapper or a street racer. No one could drive, no one could rap, but they all spoke and dressed like Paul Walker.
I do remember that. Bunch of white people being really white.
Oh yeah, bruh.
So, The Fast and the Furious,
Yep.
which, as many people know, is a 2-hour commercial for NOS.
and Corona.
Of course.
I mean, you can drink any beer you want as long as it's a Corona.
Yes. The Fast and the Furious, otherwise known as the product and the placement.
Look, speaking of NOS, though, is NOS a real thing?
I think it is.
Are you
I don't
sure
know.
this isn't like a fantasy film?
I don't know that it's a real thing, but I think it is a real thing.
So in your vast knowledge of drag racing and street racing,
Of which I am an expert.
so you think NOS it does exist in
Yeah, like my 1975 Corolla didn't have it, but I think it's real.
And what speeds would NOS get one up to?
If it were attached to my 1975 Corolla,
Yeah.
which did live its life a quarter mile at a time.
But it lasted a long time.
Oh, that thing was a
It did a hell of a lot of quarter miles. Over 800, didn't it?
My second Corolla,
Yeah. Oh, that was an 83?
that was an 87, I think.
Yeah.
That one, while I owned it, ticked over the 500,000.
Damn.
That was just the proudest day of my life.
But it didn't have NOS in it.
It didn't have NOS. If it had had NOS, I think it might have fallen apart sooner than it did.
Like Paul Walker's car did.
Yeah, actually fell apart.
Just fell apart.
Well, he overloaded the manifold is what he did, Billy.
Well, I heard something about pistons, and
Yep.
Vin Diesel was kind of roasting him about how much repair
Yep.
it would take, and then about 20 seconds later,
because the cops show up
he's driving the car again, and he saves Vin Diesel in that very same car.
in this car that has apparently just fallen apart.
What is the reality
The
of
continuity of mechanics in this film, questionable at best.
that? Yes.
So the film is about, like, Paul Walker's an undercover cop who's trying to find out, like, crack this gang that's been stealing from truckies.
Yeah. Was that supposed to be a twist that he was an undercover cop? Because it does come probably not until midway through the movie.
It's later than I remembered it, actually. And you're like, whoa, Paul Walker's a cop. And there'd been nothing in his performance up to that point to make you think that, because Paul Walker is kind of a blank slate.
yeah.
I don't want to talk ill of The Departed, but dear God, it's a good thing you're pretty, Paul Walker. Because you are goddamn terrible at acting.
I mean, you turned over to me at one point and you were like, it's Greg Sestero. It's like watching The Room. And I was like, holy crap.
There are lines that Paul Walker says where you just, if you placed him on the rooftop scene in The Room, it would not be out of place.
It is literally like watching Greg. He looks like Greg Sestero.
Yeah, they
he
both
sounds
got that
like Greg
generic Days of Our Lives. If you asked a computer to design an attractive human, it's what they would give you. I love, we spoke about NOS.
Yeah.
When it first comes up, oh my God, it's goddamn hysterical.
When he walks into the room and
he's in the mechanics, he's surrounded by signs saying NOS. And he says to the guy, I need NOS. I was like, I wonder where did that thought come from, Paul?
I know. Well, I mean, advertising
I can't remember his
works.
name in the film.
Brian. Yeah, which is such a white guy name. I mean, advertising works. The same thing happens to me. If there's a KFC ad on TV, I just look around the room and I go, I need chicken.
You must see a lot of KFC ads.
Oh, yeah. I've made it my screensaver on my phone. So.
Vin Diesel's sister in the film describes Brian as being simpler than Vin Diesel's character. I was like,
No.
That's pretty simple.
No, he describes himself as being simple.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he says something.
It's when they're
about,
out to dinner, isn't it?
Are they out to dinner or are they at a party?
It's really, it's pretty early on.
We watched it like 20 minutes ago. It's already gone. No, they're either out to dinner or at a party. And he says something about Vin Diesel being a complex man. And he goes, I'm simpler.
Bro.
It's like, geez, you don't want to be simpler than Vin Diesel.
Than Toretto.
Yeah. But you know what? He's right. He is simpler. He's like, I don't know. I don't believe that he is a cop. Like, I know that the narrative is telling us he was a cop. There is no way this guy passed cop school.
No.
Like, I don't know much about cop school, but I'm sure that there's at least a few bars you have to hurdle over to become a cop. And I don't think drag racing is one of those hurdles. I don't think most cops need to know how to street race.
Neither does Brian. All he can do, his signature move is, I'm driving in a straight line and for no reason spin out.
Yeah, he does do a lot of spinning for someone who drives in a straight line.
You've got one job. You've got two jobs. Hit the accelerator and keep it in a straight line. Yeah. One of those things is beyond Brian. You know one thing I love about this film?
Everything.
Floppy disks.
Oh, yes. It really takes you back, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I loved it. Kids out there, floppy disks were a thing. Like records, like LPs. They'll be back.
Yeah. I actually often wonder about kids these days because obviously the floppy disk is still the save symbol on most programs.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, do kids these days actually know what that ever meant, or do they think that symbol just means save?
That's how you saved something. Yeah. Oh, that's instead of hitting Control S, you had to put this thing in.
Yeah. It's like when it popped up in Red Sparrow, and I was like, that's interesting.
Another thing about Brian being terrible at being a cop, he's undercover, but he goes on a raid.
I thought the same thing when that scene popped up, and like, sure, he's in tactical gear, but those baby blues, man, you can spot them a mile away.
Absolutely.
And I was there going, I think this is against the rules of undercover copy.
I haven't been on that many undercover raids myself.
Well, yeah, not too many.
But if I was planning one, I'd be like, undercover agent, you stay put.
Yeah, because you should continue to pretend being a bad bloke. You should not be anywhere near police.
I don't know how they do it in Where's Fast and Furious set, LA. I don't know how the LAPD do it, but it's not how I would do it.
Well, I know how they do it in Boston because I've seen The Departed.
Yeah.
And I don't remember Leo at any point going on a raid.
No way was Leo going on a raid.
No. He's too smart for that.
Yep. And he knows that even if I've got a balaclava on like Paul Walker did.
Oh, yeah.
You can still, Leo's eyes.
You'd drown in those eyes.
Come on.
You'd melt into a puddle as soon as you walked in the room.
There's one guy who I'd forgotten was in this movie, and I actually don't know. I should have looked this up. I don't know the actor's name, but he plays a congressman who pops up occasionally in the West Wing.
Of course you recognize it. You watch too much West Wing. Watch
There's
X-Files.
no such thing as watching too much
Watch
West Wing.
X-Files.
And his line delivery in this film is awesome. He has some goddamn terrible lines to say, but he just owns them, and I love it. He's the FBI guy that's like that's talking to Buffalo Bill, who is Paul Walker's boss.
Yeah.
And we get Ted Levine, who we just saw in Fallen Franchise.
Yes. He's better in this than in that. He's still not great.
Yeah, most things are better than anything to do with Fallen Franchise, though.
Yeah.
Not a high bar to pass. Always happy to see Buffalo Bill, though.
I mean, speaking of him, like, doing wonders with his lines, I mean, there are some terrible lines in this. Like, the writing in this film is atrocious.
Oh, it's terrible.
Do you think that the guy who wrote this movie do you think that he went undercover as a drag racer to, like, get the lingo and stuff and see what the culture is like? Or do you think he just, like, I don't know, maybe Googled an image of drag racing and was like, yeah, here we go?
It's just his idea of how these people would speak.
Yeah. Because these people are, as we know, sandwich crazy.
That's our main introduction to Paul Walker's character, isn't it? Is that he's sick for sandwiches.
So I still don't understand what is going on in the narrative of this movie.
Well, it's about a guy who's got tip-top madness.
He's got hoagie fever.
Yeah, and it's driven him to, I don't know,
turn on the cops.
Yeah,
because he's got to get that bread in his mouth.
That's right. And then he doesn't have a sandwich for. There comes a certain amount of time where if Paul Walker doesn't get a sandwich, he goes mad.
That's why
flips on the cops.
That's why he's driving so fast, because the bakery closes at 5.
It's all making sense.
I still have trouble. Like, I know that this is a really simple movie, but I feel like an idiot because I still have a little bit of trouble following what is happening. So, do the Torettos own a sandwich shop? Is that what is going on?
That's how they ensnare people.
Is it a sandwich shop that is also a mechanics, or is it a mechanics then they just like making sandwiches?
The chop shop was at a different location than the sandwich shop,
okay.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know, it's pretty early. So one thing, when I think Fast and the Furious franchise, I think one thing, and that is Vin Diesel saying, family.
Me too. It's all I think of.
We don't get the first reference to family until an hour and 5 minutes into this movie, and it's Buffalo Bill that says it.
Yeah, that's right. Vin Diesel does not say the word family in this film.
Not at all.
Nor do any of his family.
Nope. Mia Familia, yet to rear its head.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that it pops up in Too Fast, Too Furious. I'm hoping that at least by then.
Well, if it doesn't, I think I'll just go home.
Yeah, I think we may as well.
I know we keep harping on about how bad Paul Walker is at his job in this film. Like, he tells someone he's a cop.
Yeah.
Rule one, when you're undercover.
Not only does he tell someone he's a cop, he tells the sister of his mark, of the guy he's meant to be copping. What?
Just goddamn terrible police work.
Like, again, I feel like an idiot because I'm having trouble following. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, he was trying to convince her. He hadn't had a sandwich. He was trying to convince her to convince Dom to not go out on this job.
Right.
Because the fuzz would be after him.
Okay.
And by the fuzz, he means
him.
Him.
Yeah. So, okay. So he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to be a cop, but he also wants to be best buds with Dom.
Trying to have his sandwich and eat it.
And is that just because, are we supposed to believe that like Dominic Toretto is just that charismatic that Brian is willing to like give up being a cop?
Well, he gave him
just
a beer
to be
at
his
that
buddy.
Party.
He did. He gave
a
him
used beer.
He did give him a used beer.
Used beer.
Were they both used? Because he held up 2 beers. I know that at least one was used, and for some disgusting reason, Brian chose the used one.
Yeah.
Was
and then
the other one?
He wiped it off on his shirt, so it's fine now.
That's not fine. Because no, meningococcal can kill you. You can lose your legs within 4 hours. That's why I don't share drinks.
You famously do not share drinks.
Famously do not share drinks. It took me like 3 years before I shared a drink with my wife, and even now I feel scummy about it.
Speaking of public health warnings, there's like a PSA in this movie. Brian asks for a cigarette, and like we stop the film for a minute.
Yeah, just so
his boss to be like, "No, you quit. Don't give him a cigarette."
Yeah, and the other
this goes on for a little while.
Yeah, for at least like 5 lines back and forth. The FBI dude is like, "Oh, just get him a cigarette." The guy's like, "No, don't do that. He quit."
Smoking is bad.
Yeah.
Which it is.
It is. No, like it's a great message, but it's a weird place for it.
There comes a point where it's like, I think the plot should maybe be moving on.
You're using the word plot quite loosely.
Okay, something I like about this film. Actual car crashes.
Yeah, a lot of it seemed quite practical.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the...
I feel like as the day progresses, something tells me we're going to lose that.
I think so too, because, like, we're looking back here to 2001, and I think by the time we get to, like, 2017, it will be more CGI than not.
Yeah. There's some good crashes in this movie.
Not just crashes, some good explosions. That first... When they're at Tran's gang's place... And Brian's car explodes. It's that first car, isn't it? The one that he already wrecked in the race. And
yeah, it sounds right.
But even that explosion was pretty good. One thing I didn't expect to see in this movie as much as we did is harpoons. I feel like harpoons are reserved more for whaling. I did not expect to see as many harpoons in this movie. Like, I felt like I was watching Moby Dick.
Yeah. Dom's gang are like Icelandic whalers.
Like, is that a thing that street gangs use now? Or I guess 18 years ago?
In 2001, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't robbing that many trucks.
I got as far as like weapons go, though, you couldn't get cooler. I'd like to see more harpoons in everyday use.
Yeah, if it's good enough for Batman.
I'd be happy to see cops just wandering around with harpoons instead of guns.
Put the mace spray away.
Yeah.
Harpoon that dude.
Harpoon it up.
There's a bunch of the camera work in this film, which looking back, like watching it now, it seems really cheesy and stuff. But you've got to remember that the reason it's so overused and cheesy is that this film is where it started. That, you know, North
the outrageous action sequences.
Like I've heard back in the early 2000s, like I heard editors talking about, oh yeah, we've got that, the plugin for, and maybe it had another name, but everyone just referred to it as the Fast and the Furious look.
Yeah. That kind of like ghosty.
And it's kind of like, it looks stupid now.
It does,
but thinking back to when it was, and thinking back to younger me watching this in the cinemas, I remember thinking it was just awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the camera work in general in this one isn't bad. We don't get any stupid virtual camera whizzing around. Like, it's You know, it's so weird looking at where the franchise is now, which I know that you probably can't do because you haven't seen any of the others. But like I said, I've seen the last two. I don't understand how this movie spawned those movies. Everything that makes the franchise what it is now is not in this movie. I'm watching this movie going, how the hell did this spawn a franchise or even a sequel? It's not the kind of movie that you think, but it must have done big business.
Well, speaking of the sequel.
Yeah, I guess it's time to get to it.
Let's hit play.
Before we get to it, should we check out another one of our drinking rules for later? It's about 7 a.m. now, just after. This one comes to us from our very good friends Sam and Stacey over at the Movie Reviews in 20 Qs
Sam's
podcast.
an alcoholic.
Yeah, he is, yeah. I'm actually a bit scared about what some of these rules are going to be. I worry that maybe I asked too many people to send us rules and we might get pretty hammered.
Good thing you're such an experienced drinker then, Billy.
So I'm more used to thick shakes than... But I tell you, I can smash a thick shake. So if I can drink booze as fast as I can drink thick shake, I think we're going to be in for a treat.
You're going to be asleep.
So Movie Reviews in 20 Qs is great. We've both had fun guesting on their show before, so definitely check them out and let's hear what they have to say for us.
You uncivilized New Zealander wannabes from the West Island.
So, you want some drinking rules for your Fast and the Furious marathon? Well, here's one for you blokes. Take a drink every time someone changes gears.
And fucking oath, mate, if that's not enough, also take a drink every time Vin Diesel stares someone down.
Get the piss down, you drongos.
Anyway, hooroo cobbers, don't get your shrimp stuck in a Barbie doll.
Good luck.
Jesus, what have you done to us?
I mean, he doesn't have any lines in these films, does he? That's all he does.
Even in this first one, he does a lot of staring down.
Maybe he'll ease up by the time we're actually into the drinking.
Maybe. You know, from memory, thinking about the last two movies, I feel like by that point we get a lot more Rock than we do Diesel. Right. So hopefully the staring down will ease.
With one eyebrow raised.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that this is an audio podcast because Topher
everyone just assume I'm doing it wonderfully.
Topher is giving me his Vin Diesel face.
No, it's my Rock face.
Well, either way, it's fucked up. All right, should we go watch this sequel?
Number 2.
Let's do it.
Rum. All right,
shit.
2 down. That is a god-awful film. How is there a third one?
I was not expecting today to spend 90 minutes away from Dominic Toretto.
Yeah.
What the hell? How did that movie get made? I have no words. Where's the family?
Okay, so we've switched sides of the country. We're in Miami now.
All the way over the other side of the country. Yeah, like basically as far as you can get from LA.
While still being in mainland.
Well, that's true.
United
That's true.
States.
They didn't go to Norway or anything.
So, Too Fast, Too Furious is a film about...
All right, okay. So Brian, Paul Walker, is now not a cop, obviously, because he let Vin Diesel go.
But it's like reverse Godfather 3. Just when you think you're out of the mob, they get you back in. Just when Paul Walker thought he was done being a terrible cop, they get him back in. Why the police would think we need more Paul Walker in our lives?
I mean, he was a terrible cop. Everything he did in the first one is the opposite of what a cop should do. And yet they were like, you know who we need? We need Paul Walker.
And yet the FBI agent from the first film, Congressman from West Wing, is like, you there, Brian. We need you.
That's our guy.
Just a terrible decision.
So he's now in Miami, I guess, just like now he's an actual street racer. Like that's just what he does.
Yeah, well, we meet him
now?
at the beginning of the film. We meet him at a street racing event where these people close all these roads in Miami.
Yeah,
which causes no problems for anyone.
Like, is that do you think that this is like a sanctioned event? Do you think that they've got?
I can't
permits
imagine
to close
so.
these roads.
I really don't think so.
You think they just put up some barriers and no one cares?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
We should. You know what? I reckon if we tried that even on a quiet street at like 2 a.m., I still think the cops would show up within an hour.
And it's like, the reason we have Paul Walker in this race at the beginning is that they're saying, well, there's only 3 of us. We can't race without 4. And I was like, why?
Yeah, I know. It's like Monopoly, isn't it? Like any number above 2 is fine.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not playing tennis. It's not like unfair if there's 2 on one side of the net.
yeah, like they're all just, it's like Mario Kart. You can play Mario Kart with 3 people.
It seems weird having that.
Having the extra box that's just empty.
Although, no, it's all, the map comes up in Mario Kart. If there's
Which is
only 3.
actually really handy.
I actually really like having 3.
I prefer to play with only 3.
Yeah. I also prefer Mario Kart to this film.
I mean, that's what we should have done today, is just 18 hours of Mario Kart instead of 18
Again.
hours of Fast and the Furious. Yeah.
Sadly, we're not here to talk about Mario Kart. Responsible for my high school grades as it was. Oh, another great moment at the beginning of this film when we've got this montage of, well, largely just objectification of women, but a couple of other things that the camera goes to is, did you notice that guy taking photos of this woman with a car?
He was like a foot away
He's
from
like
her.
a foot away from her with a telephoto lens.
Yeah, like they're the kind of lenses that people use to shoot pictures of the moon.
Like with one of those lenses won't actually focus on something that's at least a couple of meters away.
Oh yeah.
And yet he's got this right up in her grill.
Like it would literally be like a photo of her tooth, like out of
focus tooth.
That's literally the kind of photo you would get with that lens.
Like, shouldn't filmmakers know this?
You know what I reckon it is? I think it's more that if they used a little wide angle lens, it doesn't look as impressive. Like for the general audience members, they'd be looking at that going, oh, he's using like an iPhone basically to take a picture.
No one knew what an iPhone was yet.
You know what I mean? He's using like a tiny, like a little point and shoot hand.
Size matters.
Yes.
So what this film is actually about is that there's some bad guy who brings drugs into the United States, but struggles to get cash back out of the country.
Yeah.
And I was like,
because that's the hard part.
I was like, hold up. How is that the difficult part? If you're good enough to get drugs across the border, you're good enough to get some cash the other way.
See, because here's the thing there. Drugs aren't allowed across the border at all. Any small amount of drugs is bad. But cash, I do believe people go on holidays and take cash with them. So I think even if he had to do it in like, you take 10 grand at a time, he's got enough spare cash to pay for all these flights. He could just send his cronies over, 2 weeks worth of flying and he'd have a couple of $100K over the border.
But Argentinian Steve Guttenberg didn't know what to do.
Nah, he had no plan. So I'm actually still confused. What is his plan?
I forget. This movie is not concerned with the plot, and nor should we be.
That's fair. That's true.
So not too far into the movie, we meet Tyrese Gibson's character.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you his name.
Roman.
Roman?
I was going to say Ramon, but it's definitely Roman.
I'll have to take your word on
Roman
that.
Pierce.
So when Brian and Roman meet, they have a fight. I'm doing inverted commas here. It's
like a slap fight in primary school. I don't know how many times he has to say he's hungry.
Well, he's hungry. He's got sandwich madness as well.
He's got the tip-top fever.
He does. It explains everything.
He is, though, I would argue, the best character in cinematic history. I'm so glad that, as much as I miss Dominic Toretto, I'm really glad that we got introduced to Tyrese Gibson in this film.
He's terrible.
He's real bad.
What more is there to say about this movie, Billy?
We also get introduced to another character who I know stays in the franchise, which is Ludacris. I can't remember his character's name either. Nej?
Yeah, that's right.
Tej.
Tej's garage.
Tej, yeah. Spoiler alert, but from my memory of 7 and 8, he's a master computer hacker, which does not come off in this film at all. He's just a garage owner who organizes street races.
Because the computer hacker got killed in the first one.
Yeah.
Well, not a hacker, but...
Yeah, so he is somehow transitioning in the next couple of films to a master hacker.
Hidden talent of the garage owner.
We also get a lot of crashes in this film. I think there are more crashes than the first one, and a lot more digital virtual camera whizzing around, a lot more CGI cars.
Street race.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. It looked like Need for Speed, the video game.
It really did. At the time, in 03, it was probably impressive, I assume. Now, you're right. It looks like a video game.
Yeah, I mean, an hour and a half ago, we were wondering how much longer the practical effects would stick around. They're dead already.
But then by the end of the film, when all the cop cars are crashing, that's a lot of actual cars crashing.
That's true.
It's like halfway to Blues Brothers.
Now, is this set in a universe where people are immortal? Because the amount of people who survive crashes at speeds, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, the guy that got actually run over by the semi-trailer, probably alive.
Yeah, like if you crash in this movie going 130 miles plus per hour, you just walk out of the car afterwards. Like, doesn't
old mate at the beginning.
Doesn't Tej crash his car at the beginning?
No. Tej isn't in the race.
Right.
Yeah, there is a guy in that street race who just barrels straight into a conveniently placed Pepsi sign. Probably no product placement involved. And he would die.
Yeah, but he's fine. He just wanders out. He's like,
that comes after they've sailed over this bridge that's been raised up. And I'm not a mechanic, but I can tell you what will just completely wreck a car. And what they did will completely wreck a car, unless it was my old 1975 Corolla, which was a beast.
This is the thing, is that even the winners in these races destroy their cars. There is no way that the amount of money that they're winning will add up to the damage.
No way known to God.
So this is my other thing. They're betting 35 large. Is that 35,000? Is that what a regular street racer bets on a normal Tuesday night? This isn't even an event.
If I hear 35 large, I think 35,000.
For sure.
The amount of cash they get out is no way known to God $35,000. It looks more like $3,500.
So are we in the wrong? Are we using large in the wrong context?
No way, Billy. Man, we're from the street. We know these things.
If anyone knows large, it's us.
So, yeah, they do not get out $35,000 each. No way known to God.
I mean, even if they did, $35,000 would in no way cover the damage to these cars. Not with all of the NOS and...
there's no... NOS is no way paying for this film anymore because they refer to, like, the spray, but we don't get signs for NOS anymore. We don't get it named anymore.
Wait, so you think that NOS was actual product placement?
Absolutely.
So that is confirmation then that NOS is in fact a real thing? But it must be illegal. How can you advertise something like that? There is no way that you can just walk into a car shop and be like, yeah, man, give me 2 hits of NOS in this bad boy.
That was 2001. Anything goes.
It's just the whole world was on prison rules. After we watched the first one, we were talking about the use of harpoons and saying how great it would be if cops had them.
Next level.
In this movie, the cops have harpoons.
That mess with the electrics of a car.
Is it that the harpoons are electrified, or is it just that the way they're hitting the cars is
No, they're electrified. I'm not sure that's a thing.
That's next level harpooning. So, speaking of the undercover cops in this film, now that Brian is once again a terrible undercover
Back
cop,
in the habit.
Subtlety is not these cops'
Oh
strong
my
suits.
God.
We get introduced to 2 more undercover cops. We get the bad guy who's also the corrupt cop from Batman Begins.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we get Eve Mendes.
He's actually the same character from Batman Begins.
So that guy at one point is talking to another undercover cop who I don't remember being introduced to at all.
But we can figure out that they're an undercover cop.
So he is talking to her on this giant walkie-talkie, but he's in a van, it's fine. She kind of, she's ignoring it at first. You think she's, waiting for the right moment to...
busy blending in.
Yeah, you think she's waiting for the right moment to subtly respond. Maybe she's got like a wire on or something. Pulls a giant walkie-talkie out.
The thing is the size of a brick.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm watching. It's like, that's not...
Your cover, it is blown.
Look, I didn't go to cop school. But I'm pretty sure that one of the first things is don't take out a giant walkie-talkie and talk in cop speak while you're following a bad bloke.
They do things different in Miami. So this film is terrible. I had a great time watching it.
Oh, for sure.
We were laughing our asses off, but it's goddamn terrible. And how, we said after the first one, how did this start a franchise? How did it keep going?
That's what I don't understand how a sequel was made. And given that this doesn't even have Vin Diesel in it, who to me, is the franchise, how did this continue? Who sat there and went, you know what? We need more of this.
It's baffling.
I don't get it. What are we rating these first two?
First one's a 5 for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the first one's pretty average. I'm going to go a 5.
This one's a 3.
You know what? This gets a 4 from me.
Oh.
I think Tyrese bumped it up. If Tyrese wasn't there, it would be a 2. But I think he bumped it up.
Tyrese is very much attached to the anchor for me, dragging this thing down.
I think he bumped it up a full 2 points for me.
Oh, pretty bad. Again, had a great time watching it. It was hilarious, but because it's terrible. And Paul Walker's The Room acting very much intact.
Yeah. In fact, I would say more so. Even more watching this one, I was like, imagine if him and Greg Sestero had switched places. Like if Paul Walker was in that acting class with Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, in a different universe.
But you know what? It wouldn't be that different.
No, it wouldn't.
Like, they should remake the Fast and the Furious franchise if they're going to reboot it, because they should cast Greg Sestero in Paul Walker's role, Tommy Wiseau as Dominic Toretto.
Done.
All right, before we move on, shall we check out another drinking game rule that we're going to get to later on today? It's still in the AM, so we're not going to be drinking yet, but let's hear what we've got coming up for us
I
later.
might need something soon.
This one comes to us from our good friend Julio over at the Contrarians podcast, which is a really great, funny show. Let's hear what he has to say.
I have 2 drinking games for you. Ideally, you'll do both, but I understand if you're just too hammered and want to limit it to one. First one is pretty easy. Drink for product placement. Lots of Corona and other things there. And the second one is drink every time Billy cries. And you may think that this is not going to happen, but really, I think that during the 7th and 8th movie, you will miss Paul Walker quite a bit, and that might drive you to tears. So have fun.
Well, I mean, thanks for killing us, Julio, because if the product placement continues in this movie, I don't know if we're going to survive tonight. As for crying, do you think I'm going to cry?
Yes, it's a movie.
I didn't cry at the first, do you, dickhead? All right, if I cry, only I have to drink. You don't have to.
No, this is a team effort.
All right.
But if you cry, like, crying's a big event. So if you cry, you have to finish the drink you're currently on.
All right. That's real incentive not to cry. But the question is, by the time we lose Paul Walker, that's the end of the movie. I might already be drunk.
This is, part of why I'm convinced we're not actually getting to the end of this marathon.
Speaking of the marathon, let's crack on with it. Let's get to number 3.
Let's go to Tokyo.
All right, let's go do this thing. Have you got much else?
No, really just laughing at it. Really just laughing at it. Really just laughing at it. Really.